Hi everyone, my name is Terry Westwell and today is Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our book of the week, which is Let's Split Up by Bill Wood. First, this is a spoiler-free section, so if you haven't read this book yet, don't worry about it, it won't be spoiled for you here. There will be some spoiler-related things that I want to discuss, but that will be later on in the video and you will get plenty of warning. If you'd like to join in on any of the book discussions, send me your thoughts, comments, or even a short video clip of you discussing the book, then I'll list the next upcoming 4 books in the description below. So Let's Split Up is a YA mystery horror, and honestly it felt a little bit like Scream, but like it was written for a younger audience. I honestly really enjoyed it. I rated it 3.5 stars, and I was genuinely surprised with how fun and nostalgic it felt. Now, the reason I didn't rate it higher, and 3.5 stars is still a solid rating, is just because the writing felt a little bit too naive at times. And I say that with love because I do enjoy a YA, I'm a strong believer that just because something is YA, it doesn't mean it has to be oversimplified. You can still write for teens without feeling like the characters have been dumbed down, and although this book wasn't extreme about it, there were still enough moments that just brought me out of the story a little. But overall, it's fast, entertaining, and incredibly easy to read, plus the vibes were just really fun. But if you love a simple slasher-style mystery with multiple POVs and a group of friends who are thrown into trouble, then this one will probably scratch that itch. Okay, so a quick summary. A group of teens decide to investigate the supposedly haunted house, one that is connected with some recent murders and some local legend. Now, they unknowingly put themselves in the path of the killer, one that has secrets to protect and a score to settle. As the teens get targeted, the group have to figure out what really happened in the house and who's behind it. It's this murder mystery with urban legend, as well as teens make questionable choices, horror trope, all wrapped up in this YA tone. If I had to compare this to anything else, Fran over on TikTok said that it was kind of like Scooby-Doo meets Scream, and I absolutely agree with that. I think that it is a perfect summary of the vibe. It's this teen slasher meets a detective-style group who stumbles into danger. It also reminds me a little bit of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder in the sense that it is this YA mystery with teens trying to solve a crime. However, I would absolutely say that this book is a lot more naive. It does not have that same depth, complexity, or layered character work. Where A Good Girl's Guide to Murder really brings you into that mystery and keeps you on your toes, I think that Let's Split Up is a lot simpler, lighter, and a lot more straightforward in comparison. So where I thought it went really well was this fun slasher-esque energy. I think it captured the YA sort of horror vibe very well. It was a little bit silly, it was tense, and for me it was quite nostalgic. So it was still really easy to read, despite the fact that multiple POVs aren't usually my favourite. It was still really straightforward, and the characters were distinct enough that you never really got lost. Despite the fact that I don't feel like they had a ton of depth, most of the characters were likeable. I think that the group dynamic was believable, and each personality did stand out. And overall, I do think that it was a great concept, this haunted house and a killer that has motives tied to the town. I think that it was a great setup for a YA mystery. But unfortunately, I just felt like the writing often underestimated the reader. I felt like there were certain parts that were just oversimplified, and especially given the topic of the book, I don't feel like YA readers need to have their hand held, and for me, that naive tone just really stood out. And I think a part of that came from some of these like hypocritical moments. Like there was a scene where they were mocking other teenagers for making poor decisions when they had literally done the exact same thing. And although one of the characters does immediately call that out, I just felt like that moment was really unnecessary. Because the cast was so small and the plot was so simple, for me, I did think there were only really 2 real suspects. Unless the author wanted to make a wild misdirect, I did think that the ending was quite obvious. And maybe that's just me, but I think it's down to the missing depth. I think if there was just a little bit more to it, it would have been a lot less obvious. But don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it, so if it sounds like I'm being harsh, it's just because I am dissecting it. As a reading experience, it was exactly what I wanted. It was fun, fast, and a YA mystery with horror vibes. It's light, entertaining, and perfect if you just want something that is quick, that gives that teen slasher vibes without being too intense. So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? Maybe. I mean, even though I did enjoy it, I might not go out of my way to recommend it. I mean, I might recommend it if you are specifically looking for something fun, fast-paced, a YA mystery that doesn't take itself too seriously. Like, it is entertaining and it's easy to follow. It would give you that classic teen horror movie energy. Like, if you are someone who prefers deeper character development, more complex twists, and more mature feeling YA mysteries, then this one might feel a little bit too simple for you. So, will I be reading any more by Bill Wood? Yeah, I do think so. I mean, this one might not have made it to my all-time favourites, however, I still had fun and that counts for something. The pacing was solid, the multiple POVs were easy to track, and the story had a really engaging setup. So earlier on in the video, I said that you would get plenty of warning for any upcoming spoilers. Now this is that moment, so if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going and doing that first, because beyond this point there will absolutely be spoilers. Okay, so let's talk about that reveal, because as I said earlier, I felt like there was only two real viable suspects, and that was the teacher and the reporter. And the reporter would have actually have had to have some really convoluted double bluff, so the teacher was basically the only real option. I think because the cast was so small and the side characters got zero development, there just weren't enough red herrings to keep the reader guessing. Also, the killer's motives of trying to get revenge on the town and trying to scare teens away so that he could find his treasures made sense, but the execution didn't. Like, targeting these specific kids, two of whom weren't even originally from the town, felt a little bit random. In fact, hunting them down is what made them reveal his secrets. I think if it had just left them alone, then the plot probably never would have happened. Also, this found camera thing just felt like a weird setup that didn't fully pay off. Like, it was a great hook and it added tension, but once she saw the footage and handed it into the police, there was just nothing. There was no follow-up, no hint that the footage was being investigated. It just sort of felt like it was dropped once it sort of served its immediate purpose. That said, the ending sequence was fun, chaotic, and satisfying. It was very reminiscent of a classic teen slasher movie. It wrapped up neatly, the action was clear, and the pacing picked up at exactly the right moments. I also just kind of felt like the way that everyone was talking about the police was just a little bit off. Like, for seemingly no reason at all, everyone was adamant that the police weren't really doing anything. They were useless and they were out of their depth, which might have been the case. However, there was zero acknowledgement that during a police investigation, it's not like they can just share everything they know with the public. Like, they certainly can't tell a bunch of random teenagers. But as I said, I did enjoy it, and if it sounds like I'm being harsh, it's just because I am overanalyzing it. Overall, it was entertaining and easy to read. But unfortunately, it was just oversimplified, predictable, and just not as deep and complex as it really should have been. So I originally marked it down as 4 stars, however, I'm quite happy with my adjustment of 3.5. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Next week we'll be discussing First Time Caller, so don't forget to get your thoughts and comments in by Sunday the 23rd of November at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram or Discord. The following week will be The Shadows Between Us, but don't forget if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below, along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose a genre that best suits you, and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it's always appreciated, and I'll see you next week. Bye! If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message.